Ever wondered how a simple jar could unravel your reality? Step into a world where every turn reveals a secret you never saw coming. I was walking home from work one long, tiring day when I saw something unusual. Taped to an old telephone pole was a small paper poster with big letters that said, "Happiness, sold in glass jars. Call today." Underneath that text, a phone number was printed. I found it strange and took a quick picture, thinking it was a funny oddity to show my wife later. That night, as I rushed through my evening routine, making dinner, doing the dishes, washing clothes, packing a snack for our daughter, tucking her into bed, and then putting away the toys she had left out, I forgot all about the poster. Every night felt the same, a simple routine that left little time for surprises. The next morning, I woke up sharing the bed with my wife. I always had to get up earlier for work, so I quietly got dressed and left the house. At the office, I spent my day updating the company's expense reports. Most days were much like this one. I sat at my computer for 9 long hours and entered numbers into a spreadsheet. I finished my work early that day because it was Friday and many people left before the end of the day. On my way home, I could not stop thinking about my life. I remembered my dreams of travel when I was younger, driving across the country or backpacking in Europe. Back then, I had many hopes. But then I met Kelsey. I loved her very much. I still do. However, the spark we once had faded. When you start a relationship, you have to put some of your personal dreams on hold. Marriage, having a child, and everyday chores took over. I was not very happy with how things had turned out. I did not feel the joy I once hoped for. That day, as I walked along the same route I always took, I passed the same poster on the telephone pole. I felt a sudden pull to call the number. I thought it might be a joke. Maybe someone would answer and say something silly like, "I love you," and then hang up. I even wondered if it might be a secret line for something unsavory. But deep inside, a small part of me felt curious and urged me to try. So I dialed the number. It rang only once before a voice answered. "Hello?" a calm woman said. "Hi, I'm calling about your poster," I replied. "The ad that said you were selling happiness in glass jars?" She answered with an easy, friendly tone. "Oh, awesome. When do you want to pick it up?" "Pick up what?" I asked, confused. "The jar," she said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. I suddenly realized that I had left work early without telling Kelsey so that I could pick up this jar without her knowing. "What exactly are you selling?" I asked. "I just told you," she said simply. "It is happiness. Happiness stays best in glass jars. They hold it safe much better than a plastic bag." "Okay," I said, "should we meet somewhere?" "For sure," she replied. "I do not want you to look like a creep. Let us meet in a public place." We agreed to meet in a Starbucks parking lot about a mile away. I must admit, I did not really think I was about to buy a jar of happiness. I was almost certain that she would try to sell me drugs. In my head, I thought, happiness might be a code word for something dangerous, like a street drug. What if she is a police officer? Am I going to get in trouble? Yet something inside told me to keep going, so I walked to the meeting place. Once I arrived at the parking lot, I sent her a quick text. "Me, I'm here." A moment later, her reply came, "Her, cool, I will be there in a second." I texted back, "What car are you driving?" She replied, "A silver Camry." Soon after, I saw her car pull into the lot. The silver Camry stopped, and I saw that there was no one else in it. This made me feel a little safer, and I relaxed my worry about being in danger. The car door opened, and a young woman stepped out. Her eyes met mine, and she gave me a small nod. Then she waved me over, and I walked to her car. She was young, perhaps in her mid-20s, with curly golden hair. Her skin was pale, and her dark outfit gave her an air of mystery. I even thought she looked a little like the good witch Glinda from The Wizard of Oz, though dressed in a way I did not expect. "Nice day out," she said with a friendly smile. "Oh yes," I answered. I hadn't really noticed it. "You are the one who called about the jar, right?" she asked. "Yes, that was me," I said. "Cool, well, here you go," she said as she reached into her car and handed me a very small glass mason jar. The jar was no taller than about 2 inches. Inside, there was a soft, glowing light. It was not a light bulb, but it shone as if someone had bottled up sunshine. Even in the bright daylight, the jar glowed like a tiny sun or a small universe inside a clear box. I looked at it with wide eyes, clearly amazed by its gentle radiance. "Pretty cool, isn't it?" she said. I asked, "What is it exactly?" "You have asked that a few times now," she replied with a slight smile. "It is happiness. Happiness in a glass jar." I was still puzzled. "What do I do with it?" "Keep it," she said simply. "And if you have any problems, send me a text." Before I could ask more, she started to get back into her car. "Wait," I said. "I thought you were selling this. How much is it?" "Don't worry, you will pay," she said kindly with a smile. Then she closed her door and backed out of the parking lot, driving away. I stood there, still holding the jar, trying to understand what had just happened. I looked down at the glowing jar again. Its soft light was mesmerizing. I put it in my pocket, noticing that the gentle glow could even be seen through my pants. With many questions in my head, I began the walk home. That pleasant, sunny day soon turned dark as heavy clouds gathered. It began to rain, though no rain was forecasted. If I had known, I might have taken the bus or the subway instead of walking. I jogged the rest of the way, trying not to get too wet. Finally, I reached the apartment building and ran inside to take shelter. When I reached my door, I noticed something was wrong. My key was not on my key ring. I thought, I lost my key again, and knocked on the door. I said loudly, "Hey, it's me. I don't know what happened to my key." A door opened a little, and a large, heavy-set man with greasy hair and an unkempt beard looked at me and said, "I think you got the wrong door, bud." I was confused. "Oh, I am sorry. Have a good day," I replied as I stepped away. But I was sure that the door I had knocked on was my door, apartment number 33. I had lived there for 5 years. Inside, however, the furniture looked different, the walls were painted in colors I did not know, and everything felt strange. I felt like I had bumped my head or been given something that made me lose control. Nothing made sense. I pulled out my phone, hoping to call Kelsey and ask her to help me. I needed to hear her voice to be sure that I was just confused for a moment, but to my shock, her contact was gone. All my messages, calls, and pictures were gone too. It was as if my phone had been reset completely. I wondered for a moment if the woman who gave me the jar had somehow switched my phone when I was not looking. I had once memorized Kelsey's number, but now I could not remember it. I had to get back to the office because I kept all my contacts on my work computer. Since the rain was still falling, I hurried to a bus stop right in front of the apartment building. I got on the bus and rode downtown toward my office. I kept looking at my wet shoes and wondered what on earth was happening. When I arrived at my office building, I tried to use my key card to get in. We have a system where only people with a card can enter. I always kept my key card in my wallet, but today it was not there. I pressed the buzzer at the guest speaker, hoping someone would help me. "Hey, this is Tim. I must have lost my card. My employee number is..." I began to say, but then I stopped. I could not remember my number at all. A voice came through the speaker. "Tim? You got cut out. What is your employee number?" I can't remember," I replied. "That's fine. Just tell me your full name and what department you work in," the voice said. I answered, "I work in finance. My full name is Tim Brooks." After a short pause, the voice said, "1 second." About 30 seconds later, the man spoke again. "We do not have a Tim Brooks working in this building. Did you have an appointment with someone?" I was so shocked I almost tripped. I had been in that office just 1 or 2 hours earlier. What was happening to me? I felt like I was losing my memory very fast. I looked at my hands and wondered if I was really in my own body. Everything around me seemed to be falling apart. I felt as if I was watching my life from the outside. Then my phone buzzed with a new text message. I looked and saw that it was from the same number as the woman who sold me the jar. I remembered her instantly. I had nearly forgotten about her until I saw her message. It simply said, "Hey, how's it going?" I felt a mix of anger and fear. I replied sharply, "What did you do to me?" Her reply came quickly, "The worst is yet to come." I felt very frustrated. I almost threw my phone in anger. I pulled the jar from my pocket. It still glowed as bright as before. I shouted at the jar, "What did you do?" Even though I knew it could not answer, I felt like a madman. As I stared at its shining glass, I suddenly realized something very painful. I could not picture my wife's face in my mind anymore. I knew her name began with a K, maybe a C, but I could not see her face at all. I knew I had a wife and a daughter, but all my memories of them were fading away. I did not remember their names, birthdays, or any happy moments we had shared. I was standing outside the strange building and did not know where I was or why. Was I still working there? I must have a job somewhere. The rain now came with a cold wind that stung my face and made my nose and cheeks feel numb. I wanted to get home, to be with her, to feel safe and warm. I even longed for that dull office job that gave me a roof over my head. I was wet, tired, and very sad. I could not even remember my parents or my childhood. I wondered if I even had any close friends. I was lost in the rain with no answers. I looked down at my hand. I was still holding the small jar. The only clear memory I had was the moment the young woman had given it to me and told me it was happiness. Instead of making me feel joyful, the jar now brought me pain and suffering. I felt more miserable than I had ever felt before. Then my phone buzzed again. The new message said, "Break the jar, Tim." I looked at my other hand, then at the jar. Even though the sun was setting and the sky was dark, the jar glowed brighter than any street light. I did not break it because I was following an instruction. I broke it because I was so upset. I raised my arm high and struck the jar with all my strength, shattering it into many small pieces on the wet concrete. At that moment, something strange happened. The cold, dark air around me seemed to move away, like a shockwave from an explosion. I saw the warm, yellow light from inside the broken jar spread quickly across the ground and then rise into the sky. It was as if I was watching the start of a new universe. I felt as if a powerful force had taken over the world. The light spread all around me until I could no longer see the rain, the street, or even my own body. It felt as if I were falling into a bright star at an incredible speed. Yet I also felt a gentle warmth, like sitting by a small fire on a cold night. Then, as quickly as it had come, everything went dark for a moment, and then I blinked. I found myself in my own bed. I felt the soft sheets and the familiar weight of my wife beside me. Morning light shone through the window and fell on my face. I sat up and grabbed my phone. It was Friday morning, and there was one text message waiting. The text said, "Let me know if you ever need another jar." I was still confused, but also relieved to be in my own bed. I called in sick to work that day. I quietly went into my daughter's room, kissed her forehead, and told her that she did not need to go to preschool. We were going to have a family day together. She smiled, stretched her arms, and then slowly fell back asleep. Later that morning, I returned to the bedroom and held my wife close. I did not let go for a long time. After a while, my daughter came in, jumping on the bed and calling out for us to wake up. Yesterday, her noise might have annoyed me, but today it filled me with a warm, happy feeling. I pulled her close between me and my wife, feeling that for once everything was right. Today, I decided it was going to be a good day. Today, I was happy. If this twist-filled journey left you questioning everything, hit like and subscribe for more mind-bending stories. Share your wildest theories in the comments. What do you think really lies behind the glass jar of happiness?